Welcome back to this week's second episode on 8 Divisions in 8 Weeks on the Talking Sunday podcast, the 2020 NFL preview show as we continue to make our trek through the NFC North. But first, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the Talking Sunday handle. We already have the Vikings having an off year and finishing third place within the division. So how will those silly little cheeseheads of Green Bay fare? Go Pack, go! Well, wasn't this just a little team that could last season? The Pack somehow Go Pack Go'd themselves right to a shiny 13-3 record with a first-round playoff bye? Huh? And where there's smoke, there's mirrors. Under first-year head coach Matt LaFleur, the Packers were handed the easiest schedule in the league last season. Outside of their conference, the Packers beat teams with a combined record of only 46-66, with one of those teams actually being the 13-3 Kansas City Chiefs. But lo and behold, quarterback Patrick Mahomes did not play in that game due to a dislocated knee injury he suffered back in Week 7. Now, the three teams that they lost to had a combined winning record of 27-21. One of those teams were the San Francisco 49ers, who they absolutely walloped. They did beat the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs, who finished the season with a 13-3 record. But Seattle was severely wounded, with their best offensive lineman, DeJuan Brown, pass rusher Ziggy Ansah, and star running back Chris Carson all out of the game. The team resorted to bringing back a sluggish and old Marshawn Lynch, who was only able to muster a measly 26 yards in that game. With a rematch on deck against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, the Pack tried to prove the first time around was a fluke, but the results were ultimately the same. The 49ers led the game 34-7 heading into the fourth quarter, sending the Packers home for the 2019 season. The biggest loss for the Packers was right tackle Brian Beluga, who ranked out as the 16th best tackle in the NFL. Beluga spent all 10 years of his career with the Pack and had been consistently one of the better right tackles in football. They ended up replacing him with Rick Wagner from the Detroit Lions, who has been pretty solid throughout his career as well. But Wagner had his worst season ever as a professional, and I'm worried that the right side of the Packers line is now compromised. As usual for the Packers, they had a pretty quiet offseason with not much more to talk about here. Controversy was the only result coming out of the 2020 draft for the Pack. Loaded from top to bottom in this year's class with wide receiver talent, Packers fans were willing to give anybody a shot to help out superstar wide receiver Davante Adams on the other side. With receivers like T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, and Laviska Shenault still on the board, the Packers front office saw an opportunity that they just couldn't pass up on. Delivering a complete shock to the fan base, Green Bay selected Utah State quarterback Jordan Love with their first pick. Love was ultimately a controversial pick among all GMs entering the 2020 draft. After exploding onto the scene his junior year with 32 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, Love came crashing back to earth his senior season with only 20 touchdowns, and we saw his interceptions skyrocket to 17. Playing in the Mountain West Conference, where competition is low, should definitely raise some eyebrows for Pack Nation if he is to eventually unseat Aaron Rodgers as the next franchise quarterback. But those fans are just happy to be alive up there in Wisconsin, so I'm sure they got nothing but great things to say. Good mentoring and coaching is the key to success for the Utah State prospect. Learning behind one of the best quarterbacks will be beneficial, and the time will help him get acclimated to the speed of the pros. Now, whether Rodgers is willing to participate and how he'll handle all of this is another story. Rodgers, now 36 years old, is still under contract in Green Bay through the 2023 season after signing a 4-year extension in 2018. It took 3 years after Rodgers was drafted in 2005 to finally make his first start. They gave Brett Favre every opportunity to play until his horse and pony show was over. Now, if you can remember, Favre was a real pain in the ass when it came to mentoring Aaron Rodgers. He didn't want to give up the starting role. So will Rodgers repay that same treatment, or will he show mercy on the Rook? Now, something tells me that those discount double checks might be raising their premiums this season, causing a little bit of grumblings in the building. Or maybe that's just the cheese curds. The Packers return for the 2020 season with almost the same exact roster from last, but we should see the Cheeseheads' true colors this time around. After a cupcake season last year, the Packers are now faced with one of the hardest schedules in the league with no breaks at all. America will get to see the Packers in 4 primetime games this year, 2 of which are on the road against the Saints in the Superdome and the 49ers in Santa Clara. Well, maybe Green Bay will get some help after their bye week. Wrong. After Green Bay's bye, they'll square off against the Super Bowl or bust Buccaneers, but Tampa will be coming off 10-day rest themselves, giving them extra time to prepare against the Pack, basically nulling the Packers' bye week. They'll also draw the surging Colts on the road in Week 11, who will be well rested with 10-day rest after coming off their Thursday night football game. On top of all of this, they'll play their in-division rivals, the Vikings and the Bears, coming off their bye week as well. Yikes. The only break in the schedule will be after their Thursday night football game against the San Francisco 49ers, as they'll get extra rest to heal and prepare for their Week 10 matchup with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, you get it. Now, I'm still over here scratching my head how Matt LaFleur became the head coach of the Packers in the first place. But I'm pretty confident that he's going to be exposed soon enough. To me, LaFleur lacks the leadership and the confidence to control a guy like Aaron Rodgers. Loaded with a schedule to potentially expose the Pack, if things go wrong early, look for an explosion between the quarterback and the head coach. On top of that, LaFleur wants to move to a more run-oriented attack, which would take the ball out of Rodgers' hands and would explain the lack of wide receiver depth on the team. I don't see how anyone can possibly think that this will go over well with Rodgers. Tensions are already sky high when the team decided to draft quarterback Jordan Love, so there's a ton of room here for things to fall apart rather quickly. For those reasons alone, I have the Packers missing the playoffs, but finishing second place in the division with an 8-8 record. Oh, baby! We're really shaking it up here in the NFC North. Make sure to tune in this Thursday and Friday to see who I have finishing last in the division and find out who might just rise to the top as the true King of the North.